Well, hello and welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and see what we can get into. We're going to do a little bit of Heartfelt with Michael Brown. This is the apocalypse, the end of times, coast to coast to him.
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, good evening or good morning as the case may be. Welcome to a little edition, a Friday night, Saturday morning edition of Coast to Coast AM, live this great land. Across all these time zones, from Pacific Islands to Haiti or the Hawaiian Islands, east coast of the Caribbean, south in the northern South America, and of course, north to the North Pole. Good to be here, everybody. And we are going to take a bit of a turn, as I do so many times on this program. It's my feeling that talk radio should be no single thing. And I've conducted it that way for years and years now. We're going to have a guest. That's right. His name is Michael Brown, and he will come from the Christian perspective. He has written a book called The Final Hour. Michael is an investigative journalist. He actually broke the Love Canal story, you know that. And now author, I think, 2 times over at least since then. We'll tell you about his books, but this should reach out and grab you. The reports come from deep in the former Soviet Union, where towering apparitions of Jesus and Mary seem to announce the fall of communism. From the damp roots of contained Ireland, where visions are given of the crucifixion, from war-torn Yugoslavia, where the version has appeared since 1981, and a mountainside in Venezuela, where the sun pulses and spins and throws off colors of great splendor. During the past century, and especially the last 10 years, we on Earth have been experiencing a major supernatural episode. Reports of unusual events, spiritual events coming from every habitable continent. That's a bit of a teaser, and he will explain what he means, and we will talk of many things in a few moments when Michael Brown is here. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think I am too. I am not a Catholic, but I've always thought Catholicism a beautiful, truly beautiful religion. And in just a moment, we will embark and find out the Catholic view of what's going on in the world. You all know predictions and prophecy, and these are things we're going to touch on, by the way. I want to thank Virginia at Ancient Prophecies. We've had a wonderful relationship. They're turning me on to Michael Brown. She's the one who is responsible for suggesting Michael as a guest. Right, let's do it. I think he's in New York. Let's try and connect with Michael Brown, author of The Final Hour and more. Michael, good evening. Well, good morning there, I guess. Good morning. Good to have you, Michael. Where are you, actually?
Over in New York, actually, just north of about 8 miles, about 3 miles north of New York.
All of New York, near Bleedown.
We're all country, but he's no longer here.
No, but he's still on our TV screens.
Yeah, he still pops up over
Yeah, I think he's selling Doritos for the ex-governor of Texas.
Instead of selling some of the things that we sold here.
All right, Michael, let's, instead of reading, I've got sort of a bio on you here, but I thought I would let you tell us what you have done and how you have come to the final hour. In other words, what is your history? You were a journalist, right?
I started out, I was a newspaper journalist, local reporter in Niagara Falls, involved, like you said, in the exposure and making of the story of the Love Canal plastic waste dump, as well as the entire situation of hazardous waste across America. I wrote a book back in 1980 called Laying Waste that was that kept me busy for 10 years afterwards, traveling around warning about danger. And I lived in New York City for much of my career. I wrote a book on the mafia. I wrote another book on the environment. I wrote a lot of science articles. I was, or books. I wrote a book called The Search for Eve, which was about a theory that through DNA they had tracked the first human being back to the common ancestor of female ancestry in Africa. And later that day, I was contributing editor at Science Digest and so forth. I used to write magazine stories, and then about 5 years ago, I went into full-time research into what I would call, I guess, Christian phenomena, for lack of a better term. In other words,
okay, we'll get to that. I don't want to leave your early work for just a second. We've got plenty of time. Radio is such a luxury. Michael, the Love Canal thing. I've read and heard so much about that. I can only imagine, and would love to have you tell us a little of what it was like when that story was breaking. But then to jump to the end of it for a second, I saw a piece not very long ago that seemed to suggest that a big mistake had been made, and that really people shouldn't have moved away from Love Canal, and that it just cost a whole bunch of money, wasted a bunch of money, and the whole thing was for naught. I'm sure you've seen those pieces.
well, there's a lot of misunderstanding because of what the Love Canal was, because there were two Love Canals, what the Love Canal is and what the Love Canal is not. In 1978, there was an evacuation of the 238 homes that were closest to this leaking chemical. 2 years later, after a lot of protests, there was an evacuation of people who lived so much farther away and were not, in many cases, really in the type of danger those original inhabitants were, but were moved for really political, psychological, emotional reasons. And I was found that the parts of which they're thinking of re-inhabiting are re-inhabiting and making it seem like Love Canal was nothing, a lot of hot air, but it wasn't. It was toxic air, and those homes closest to Love Canal could never be re-inhabited because they don't exist. They just moved those over and dumped in a special landfill. So there's a lot of misunderstanding.
Could a person live at ground zero today, or is it still basically uninhabitable?
Absolutely not. There's a huge fence that makes that a zone of contamination for good. You couldn't even enter it walking down the street. You have to scale the fence and go into a large mound of clay. A lot of the homes that I initially investigated are now under this mound of clay that protects it from rainfall and therefore it stops the leakage.
How was it discovered?
Well, there's been reports for a couple of years about PCBs. You know, that's a type of chlorinated chemical that's rather poisonous, seeping into some pumps. Into cellars, in basements, bringing the site.
I know PCB is used in transformers, electrical transformers. So it used to be.
It's a coolant, that's right. And also used to manufacture manufacture certain plastics and so forth. They're very similar to what DDT is as far as a family of chemicals. And then in 1978, there was a memo that I got my hands on, and it showed that benzene, which is a human cancer-causing agent, was in the air of some of the homes near Love Canal. And then I went in there and I did kind of an informal health survey in May of 1978, and I was really nonplussed by how many people were claiming that their dogs were going bald, losing their fur, developing tumors allegedly, and all these ailments they were claiming, from dizziness to epilepsy and breast cancer, that seemed to have put them once they moved near this place known as Love Canal, an old hydroelectric channel that has been filled up with, like I said, chlorinated material from years gone by. And I told the health department about this. The health department was planning, or from did plan to have a health survey of its own, which a couple months after that turned up rather hard scientific indication of miscarriages, high rates of miscarriage, and advanced birth deformities, and some liver enzyme indicators among those living closest to the chemicals and issues in order of evacuation.
So as you investigated, it was one of those things that sort of slowly became apparent, dawned, and the magnitude of it became apparent.
Once after estimated it snowballed by August 2nd, 1978, people were streaming away from the site on order to the state. It became a major national story, the first toxic waste crisis in America.
All right, so that was about canal, and then you say you wrote about the mafia. I've always been curious about that. We had a reporter in Las Vegas who did a lot of reporting about the mafia. Ended up drowning in Hawaii, not necessarily under suspicious circumstances, but that leads me into the question. Did you worry a little bit when you write about the mafia? You had a worrisome thing to do?
I think this was one of the guidance that I was writing about, specifically about a murder story that had occurred involved a gangster from Newark, New Jersey, which is kind of the hub of mob activity in the United States.
I lived there, Michael, I know.
Thanks for the fact. And at any rate, he had got caught in his murder with several other people, or a couple other people, and turned into state witness in order to himself avoid jail, and ended up ratting on over 70 of his former buddies, including a lot of heavy hitters of the used to call them stone cold killers in the Parliament. And so I kind of wrote the story, and I always was in consultation with county district attorney investigators, with high-level detectives, with FBI agents, with federal marshals, and I kind of knew where I could step and where I couldn't.
I thought for a moment when you said with the right consultation back to you went to the equivalent of the Godfather and got his blessing to do the book.
What I did is I took the other approach. I took the approach that the Godfather was a lot of hot air, and that these people really are basically the scum of the earth. And I got on shows like Eric Lee and Regis show back when it was just a local New York show, and said as much.
Mm-hmm. And lived.
And
did you ever tell me? Did you ever get any dead horse heads in bed with you, or even something lesser, letters or threats?
No, there was a jewel thief from Miami who threatened to hurt me if I put his name in my book.
That'll do. All right, so let's find out then, how in the world do we get from that sort of secular, serious investigative reporting to something like the final hour? Let me make that trip.
Well, in 19, I was born a Catholic. I fell away from the faith, I guess, around late junior high, in junior high school and high school, certainly in college, even though I went to a Jesuit university in New York City. And for years afterwards, I was in, I guess you'd call it the fast track on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And with no time, certainly, for Sunday Mass or anything of the sort, which was kind of considered superstitious. But in 1983, in the middle of writing that mafia book, by the way, I had a series of experiences that to me indicated that there was actually a force of evil in the world, not just, I think a lot of us think of evil as a generic term. It's something that means negative, people who do what's not right, criminals and so forth. Think in terms of actual evil force, a devil, or real evil, the devil. Yeah, I started to have experiences indicating to me that it was a real force, and of course I was close enough to it, writing about it, and these experiences, including a rather dramatic dream I had, ended up turning me into a full-time Christian artist.
Catholic, you returned?
I returned to the church very quickly in 1983 after this dream I had, and which I saw an evil face.
Why? All right, yeah, let's talk about that a little. Oh, an evil face. So your dream, yeah, tell us about your dream. I guess we ought to understand what it is that made you turn this corner so dramatically.
Okay, this is a part of really a series of events that occurred over several months, but one night I was coming back from socializing down in the lower East Village of Manhattan, and Friday night, single at the time. I came home. Again, it was fast lane stuff, you know. And again, it was right towards the end of this mafia book I was writing.
Drugs?
No, I mean, I wasn't,
Not that fast.
I may have had a couple drinks that night. I went to sleep, and I woke up, middle of the night. I didn't look at the clock, or at least I don't remember. It was probably the first time around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up because I had a very startling dream. I dreamt that I was on like a hospital gurney, and there were these luminous entities, for lack of better terminology, around me, really, with their hands over me, as if they were like healing me or delivering me or something. And my feet were towards the door of my apartment. I lived on 90th and 3rd on the 12th floor of a luxury apartment building. And I had awakened because they had shown me this face materialize on my door. It was this elongated face with a very pointy chin, stereotypical demonic face, with the goatee, the classic sunken jowl and so forth, staring at me, and it was a very living face, an etched face on my door. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. It made anything like the mafia seem like kids' play. And I woke up and I paced around for a while. I went back to sleep, and the dream continued where it left off.
Oh, that's bad.
And I asked one of the entities again who it was, and he said his name was Michael. And I associated them with being angels, and showed me the face again. And I woke up again, and I looked for an hour. I was terrified. When I went to bed again, the dream continued where it left off. It was a three-parter. And this time I was told to say vanish, and I woke up. I remember I was beside myself, and I think it was very next day. I went to see a sister of mine and in Stamford, Connecticut, and my mother had been there recently visiting, and she said, "Mom, I left you something. I'm staring at it right now." I said, "What's that?" And she went upstairs in her condominium, came back down with a statue of the Archangel Michael, and it was kind of the beginning of my conversion. I started to go into church again.
I see. I can understand that. My gosh, what an experience. I'm recalling, Michael, again, I'm not Catholic, but the beginning of the genre of the movies was The Exorcist. No movie ever scared me as much as The Exorcist. And I guess it was because it involved the church, and it all seemed so very real. So I've got a question for you. Do those things go on?
Yes, but with greater frequency than the movie indicates, and with better success. There are definitely cases there are many thousands of cases of demonic possession, but most of the cases, of course, are not quite as dramatic as that. But I have talked to priests, including one from Los Angeles area, who've been involved in exorcisms that are literally as dramatic as some of the parts of the movie. Not that they have twist around the back, and not that there's pieces flying across the movie screen, but certainly physical manifestations of levitation and just tremendously, in some cases, gruesome phenomenon that occurs. I think it really be spirits, whereas the movie kind of displays the devil is more powerful than the force of good.
You already made a jump and everything. Do you think that's what you saw in your dream? Was it a manifestation of evil of the devil, or of yourself, or the evil within you, or what was it?
A combination. I think it was showing me literally that the devil was at my door. That, when you press against evil, it leaves something behind. And all of us fool around with evil forces when we basically, I don't want to be preachy, that's for others to do. I'm not very good at it, but that's what happens when we sin. We do it in a society, so you can become possessed as a society.
We'll begin to invite him in. Listen, we got a break right here. We'll be right back to you, Michael. Michael Brown is my guest. More in a moment. Once again, from Albany, New York, here's Michael Brown back again. Michael, hi. Hi. All right. Right. How do you know if I would ask you what you saw, how do you know it was real? How do you know it wasn't just as they say, a bit of undigested bologna or something?
Well, I mean, it could be. I just never had a suicide dream before and haven't had one since. I guess you had to be there. It was a real feeling. It was, right to the, I mean, it was right to the heart. There's no doubt you encountering something that was extremely unusual and certainly wasn't your standard dream. And that was, I don't know, I mean, you could say it was subconscious, but that was one of a series of, quite frankly, many other events that began to occur, indicating to me that all of this talk about poltergeist phenomena, and I had done research earlier as a journalist writing for the Atlantic Monthly and other publications, and as a newspaper reporter. I had done some investigating into people who claimed haunted houses and experiments with parapsychology and all of other junk, and so forth. I think that all of this stuff tied in. That when you really look at things, there's a dimension outside of the body, and you better be careful what you fool around with because it can bring something to your door.
All right, I do a program on that kind of thing, Michael. It's called Dreamland, and it deals with UFOs, and it deals with life after death. If there is such thing, it explores those possibilities, and occasionally, of course, it moves into those realms. We talk to a lot of people like Dr. Moody and others who believe, or I'm sure you're well aware of what they believe, and I take it that your view of that sort of thing is negative.
Well, not all of it. I mean, for instance, you take the near-death experiences that you just alluded to, without relating to any one researcher, I think there are some cases that are extremely interesting and very valid and very uplifting and very true. You have to be careful, Art. I mean, I know parapsychology inside out. I mean, I was to Mind Science Foundation. I interviewed J.B. Ryan, who coined the expression ESP. Yeah. I mean, I used to investigate scientific experiments with this stuff and wrote a book about it. And I understand that a lot of it is valid, but a lot of it can get into occultism, and that degenerates very quickly into New Age and witchcraft and all of these other things that you have to be very careful about.
We'll get to that. What is the best evidence that there really is a God? What would you say?
Well, to me, there's so much evidence. I guess life itself is the best indication to me. I mean, to think that all of this organization came out of chaos is ridiculous. I mean, what are the odds that just the masses of water and soil would produce the high-level organisms that we see all around us and that we are ourselves? Like I said, I did a book called Search for Eve, which was on these theories of evolution. I went to Africa. I went to cave sites in Israel. I went to DNA laboratories in Berkeley, out in New neck of the woods, and also out to Hawaii, looking at all this evidence. And what I found really, Art, is that the scientists had no idea what happened or how this could happen. They all they may pretend in some of these textbooks that they understand evolution, but they really don't. And so I think that the miracle of life itself is the best evidence of God.
How long do you think we've been on man, that is?
I don't know. I mean, if you believe in the dating techniques, radiocarbon dating and thermoluminescence, I mean, I guess you could argue that modern man, anatomically modern man, has been around for 100 to 200,000 years, and in kind of an ape-man form for hundreds of thousands of years previous.
Well, you're an investigative journalist. Do you believe that generally, or do you believe that man has only been here, say, 6,000 years?
I don't know about the 6,000 figure. I think that was devised by a clergyman back several centuries ago in England. But Well, a lot of people cling to it, Michael. I know they do, and I wouldn't cling to any date, but and that goes for any realm. I don't believe too much in urban dating anymore. I saw a case. I went to interview Richard Leakey, who's probably the foremost fossil hunter in history, and indeed one of the major scientists on the face of the planet Earth. And he had a famous discovery called Skull 1370 that made the cover of Time magazine, and then a short while later he said, oops, we're off by 200,000 years or so. And of course, that didn't make the cover of Time magazine. But I'm very skeptical when they try to say something is 1 million years old or 200,000 years old.
Do you think it would be easier, or is it as easy to accept that there is a God as it is that there is a devil? Are you convinced? Now I know what you saw on the door.
That is more subtle than the devil is. The devil kind of comes crashing around. I think I observe look around us right now in American society to see the footprints of those people. I mean, not to be facetious about this, but there are a lot of manifestations right now. You turn on MTV and it's like peering into a witch's closet. I mean, there's a satanic symbology throughout our musical culture right now, and witchcraft rites, and there's a lot of stuff going on everywhere, whether it's the crime rate, the criminal justice system, which is turning out to be very interesting right now, isn't it? And just a lot of bizarre events going on that I think are leading up to some type of high point event. I think that we're seeing a rise in societal manifestations of actual metaphysical evil. I don't want to use too many metaphysical words here. But
all right, what does the final hour mean?
The final hour talks about the final hour of our era. And what I say in the book, I report on various prophecies from around the world. A lot of them coming from the Catholic realm, including apparitions and alleged apparitions of the Virgin Mary. That's right. That say that we're approaching, as I said, some type of major series of events, and that are going to break down or purify us, break down this evil, purify us from this evil, and lead us into some type of major reawakening. And I think that we do need a wake-up call.
Are these the final days?
The final days for me, I was implying for the end of the world, or the end of the book of Revelation. And I'll say this: I think that we're going through parts of the book of Revelation, but I never would say that we're approaching the end of the world. We're approaching the end of an era, and therefore it is the later days of an era.
You wrote, during the past century, and especially the last 10 years, we on Earth have been experiencing a major supernatural episode. Now, give me an example of what you mean, the apparitions, the Virgin Mary. Is it bigger than that? Last night, for example, on this program, Michael, we had caller after caller from New Orleans, Louisiana, where crime is so far out of control. They had over 420 murders last year. It's a fairly small city as they go. The police department has just got corruption all the way through. They're trying to do something about that. We've got kids killing kids, 7-year-olds throwing 11-year-olds throwing 7-year-olds out of windows. I watched a black guy look into a television screen the other day and say, look, I don't care about my own life, and I don't give a damn whether I live or die. I'm already resigned to the fact that I'm going to die, so if you ask me what I think about your life, you can only imagine.
Sure. And of course, Sterling is also a great center of voodoo. There's these manifestations. I even look at things like what we're seeing with the legal system in the O.J. Simpson case. That sounds really trite, but it's not trite. It's a very major thing going on right now. We're starting to see just how wayward our society has become. And I think, quite frankly, that when people say, well, what are these prophecies about? What's going to come? I say that, first of all, they're starting to materialize before our eyes. We are already seeing the precursors of events that will probably occur. And I think California right now is the center of this activity.
Oh boy.
As far as actual warnings. I mean,
I had on the show not long ago Michael Scallion, Gordon Michael Scallion. I'm sure you know of him.
I've heard of him.
He predicts a series of earthquakes this year, Michael, that will culminate with some 9-point earthquakes. Palm Springs, California, going on up the coast toward Seattle and so forth. And I mean, tremendous, gigantic earth changes. He may have even been on the Ancient Prophecies program. I believe he may have been. And there are so many prophets predicting the same sort of thing. You know, California breaks off and falls off and the whole thing. How do you react to that sort of prophecy?
Something is happening in California. In Los Angeles since 1992 has only gone for about 6 months without being declared a disaster area. You've had, of course, floods and you've had fires, you've had riots, and you've had earthquakes. Right. And if you look, matter of fact, if you look hard at the 10 most costly disasters in American history, in all of American history, going back to the Great Chicago Fire or the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, or whatever you want to consider, and adjusting for inflation and change in value of the dollar, of the top 10 worst disasters in American history monetarily, 6 or 7, might be 7 now in light of the recent flooding, of these disasters, of these 10 disasters have occurred since 1989 and 4 or 5 since 1992. Something seems to be afoot, and a lot of the activity is in California. And what I see is that this is building momentum and building momentum until we're going to have perhaps one of these major earthquakes or major storm of unprecedented proportion, whether in California or on the East Coast here or wherever. I even look at this earthquake in Kobe, Japan. The name Kobe means the doorway of God. In Japan, there were 5,000 were killed. And you start to wonder, is God trying to tap us on the shoulder before stronger medicine?
It's a very good question, and I must say that a lot of us who are not gifted prophets still feel something, and there are a lot of people out in the audience who have this general sense of unease that something big is coming soon.
I see that everywhere. We see that. I do a lot of research cross-denominationally, not just the Catholic realm, but also the Protestant realm, and I've interviewed Jews, and I've interviewed all kinds of different people, and there is a common thread. There is this feeling, this unsettled feeling that something is going to give soon, a series of events are going to give soon. A lot of us are kind of waiting perhaps a little bit too obsessively about one major event like an asteroid or the big one in California or a tidal wave somewhere, but something. But I think that we're going to see a lot of regional events of perhaps unprecedented proportion in the coming years and decades, all leading up to some type of high point event. And we can discuss that later if you want. But
yes, indeed. A lot of prophets I talk to again, and I talk to many of them, seem to suggest that prophecy is not a done deal. Scallion said it, others have said it, that there are many possible courses or roads that we could, or realities or dimensions, or however you want to phrase it, that we can move down, and that we don't have to move down the one towards the big disaster.
That's true. We believe that from the Catholic perspective also. We're told that. And I know that there are a lot of non-Catholics who have all kinds of misgivings about apparitions that we claim come from the Virgin Mary. And I understand some of their complaints and considerations and so forth. But I've been to a lot of these places, from, like you said, the former Soviet Union to Medjugorje to South America, and At some of these places, the Virgin Mary gives secrets that seem to pertain to future events. And sometimes she is exactly prophesied. And this is what she says. It's exactly what she says. But these are the moments that will come if we continue what we're doing now. There's always a if. They're conditional prophecies. They can be changed, just like in the Bible, prophecies could be changed. When Jonah warned Nineveh, it was if Nineveh did not repent, it would be destroyed. And Nineveh, at least initially, did repent, wasn't destroyed. I think we're at the same place right now.
Yes, although as I look at our present direction, I see no change of course yet. It looks like we're headed straight down the highway to doom.
And more so Europe and other parts of the world, even in the United States. But it's really becoming flagrant here, and we better shift course I think the Lord is going to shift course for us.
You also wrote, whether you're a believer or disbeliever, Catholic or Protestant, Gentile or Jew, you're about to enter a series of unearthly events, call them alleged events, unlike any reported in 2,000 years. Now, there's always a lot of jitters, I guess, when centuries turn the page. And, I forget what they call it, the millennium madness, I think.
Yeah.
So how much of what's going on right now do you think is that? How much is really a problem headed toward 2000 here?
Well, a lot of it is millennial madness. A lot of it's psychological. I don't associate it with the year 2000 so much as a change of era that could occur after the year 2000 or before. It could occur tomorrow for all we know. We have to be careful because these are human time frames, and things don't work like that for supernatural. Where if you hear a prophecy that gives specific dates, usually it turns out to be a joke, something wrong, and kind of a deception. And so I don't put too much stock in the year 2000, but I do believe that in the next few years or few decades, we are really going to see some enormous events, unless things change very rapidly.
All right. You actually went to the physical locations and investigated some of these events regarding the Virgin Mary. With the rest of us, Michael, have only heard rumors and talk and stories about. Was it real?
Medjugorje in former Yugoslavia is real, and I've been there 4 times now.
How do you say that? Why do you say that? What did you see that convinced you?
Well, I got to say, too, when I first arrived at this place where it said the Virgin Mary has been appearing to 6 young people since 1981, since June of 81, I thought it was a case of collective hysteria for the first few hours I was there. I was disgusted at myself for flying all that way. But before I left, 5 or 6 days later, it was the most incredible experience of my life. And it's the feeling of peace there. You feel like you're not on the planet Earth, but somewhere between here and heaven. It's tranquility, the power of God. I saw the sun do stuff that I didn't think the sun could do. I realized this was kind of a supernatural phenomenon because the sun certainly could have been doing this, or else everybody on Earth would have seen it. But it was throwing off colors and pulsing, and there was a disc that moved in front of it, and a disc. Like a disc that's not a UFO or anything, but just something that seemed to be shielding the sunlight so you could stare at the sun for 10 minutes without blinking. And without seeing sunspots. And instead of sunspots, at one point in association with Medjugorje, I saw these reddish, purplish hearts floating across my field of vision. And just I saw other aerial phenomena while I was there, not UFOs, but rather more like the signs of wonders described in the New Testament. And I think really the most impressive thing was just this feeling in your heart of here you are in the stony hinterlands of Yugoslavia with nothing around, with no pools, with no TV, with no air conditioning, a lot of times with no heat if you're there during the cold months, and you didn't want to leave. And a peasant village that's right out of pre-World War II. And where people still use horses and buggy their horses to cart around the fire with.
When you ask yourself, did I really see this, or did I see what I wanted to see? How do you answer?
Well, by going back again, I guess, and that's what I did 3 other times.
3 other times. Wow. All right, we're here at the top of the hour, so rest. We've got several minutes. Just relax, and we'll get back to you in a moment, Michael. Michael Brown is my guest out here at the final hour. Yes, we're asking about numbers and such. We'll be right back. My guest is Michael Brown. He is a Catholic. He is was a secular investigative journalist. He wrote the Love Canal story. He wrote a book on the mafia. He's done lots and lots of secular journalistic work. And now he's writing books and reporting on spiritual events that are going on all over the world, particularly in the last and next decades. It is a fascinating subject, certainly, and I've got a fax here with regard to witchcraft. All right, back now to Michael in Albany, New York. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Here's a fact, and by the way, anybody wanting to send any question for Michael, my fax number is area code 702-727-8499. 702-727-8499. Art, in the immortal words of Marcia Clark, I object. You have an interesting guest. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of what he has to say, but he's a rather confused person about witches. Speaking as a practitioner of modern witchcraft, Wicca, witches do not worship Satan. Satan is a Christian heresy and very much part of the Christian theology. Wicca is not a Christian religion, and to us, Satan is simply a fictional character from someone else's literature. For a witch to worship Satan or use satanic symbols makes as much sense as would you worshiping Captain Marvel, Superman, or the Incredible Hulk. That's Paul down in Phoenix.
You want me to respond to that?
Yeah, sure. Respond any way you want.
I would really draw a differentiation between Walker, a comic strip character, and this tremendously nefarious force who is a real force in the world and in our lives, and also can cause a lot of supernatural phenomena. With witches, most people practicing Wicca or witchcraft are not evil people, but I believe that this half hour, but it's a deception, and that's where the confusion is. You see, witchcraft does relate to demonic activity. It goes back to ancient Babylon. It goes back to Neanderthal times in Europe when they had pantheism and worship of horn-headed creatures and so forth, representations on old cave walls, or at least relics soon after the Cro-Magnon man, I should say, not Neanderthal. And then it came through history, through ancient Babylon, through these strange gods and goddesses, and it came through Egypt at the time of the pyramids, and it came through the secret societies of Europe, and then the witchcraft in Germany, the secret societies that took foothold even here in America. And now we call it witchcraft and the New Age movement and the occult and so forth. And I believe that a lot of it taps into a real supernatural force, but it's a force from the dark side that causes tremendous spiritual blindness so that they don't see the devil, so that they don't see the working of actual demonic entities. And I strongly suggest that they get away from that quick.
While we're on the subject of getting away from it quick, one thing did once scare me. Somebody had delivered to me anonymously an old, even ancient, Michael, Ouija board. When I used to work in Las Vegas, up at the radio station, it was delivered to me. And it looked a zillion years old, and I guess it was. And some strange things happened associated with that Ouija board, and I didn't even play with the damn thing. What do you have to say about Ouija boards? Are they an invitation to the dark side?
Well, it's like taking a bullhorn to downtown New York City to Times Square and saying, "Hi out there, anyone who wants to come into my parlor is welcome." I mean, would you do that? You know, that's what you're doing in the spiritual realm with a Ouija board. You're saying, whoever wants to come through, come on in. And guess who's going to come in first? You know, you have to be careful with that, with tarot cards, with astrology and so forth, because these are all things that are mentioned, even biblically, as being extremely dangerous and putting you in touch with wizards and witches and the dark side. And again, I don't want to insult any of your listenership, but you have to be very careful with this stuff. I've seen phenomena with the Ouija board. I used to investigate that type of thing to see if there was anything behind it. I've been in the rooms when they turn stone cold all of a sudden, and everyone gets prickly skin, and it's a big drill and everything, and these messages come through the board. But who's sending these messages? What are the fruits? What happens to people who fool around with this stuff? And the answer is that often they get into a lot of trouble. And you know, if you want to look at actual cases of possession, you'll be amazed how many of those cases fall out with tarot cards or Ouija boards. You'll be amazed because, again, you're inviting something in that you don't understand.
Another thing I don't understand, and I've struggled to understand, and I've done shows on it for years, UFOs. I finally saw one myself, Michael. I had a serious experience. Close in, something just floated above me, a big triangular craft of some kind. I won't go into all the details, but it scared the hell out of me. And it was either technology that we had developed and surely know nothing about, or it was from somewhere else. Or I don't know. I don't know what it was. To this day, I don't know what I saw.
So many people, of course, so as you know, millions of people have had these experiences. And I want to start out by saying that I hope I have an open mind in some regards, and I don't discount the possibility that a small percentage of these are extraterrestrial. But I'll say that I've seen tremendous indication that it's more of a spiritual phenomena than a physical phenomena. In other words, something from another dimension as opposed to another planet. And we have to, once again, we have to be careful of the dark side. We're told in the Bible that there were some lying wonders in the air. Wonders in the air were warned about biblically, as well as in some of these Marian prophecies. And we look, I think that there was one study that indicates as many as 8 million Americans are claiming sometime in their lives to have been abducted by UFO.
That's right.
And I think if you look at the descriptions, that they're classic, it's just classic demonology. These are entities that have the slanted eyes, they're little, they're mean looking, they leave bad effects, they leave bad odors a lot of times. Sure. And they come through, they can go through the wall, they haunt you the rest of your life. It's not like a craft landing from some other planetary system and visiting you once, taking the sample, and then heading back for home. But Rather, it's an ongoing spiritual phenomenon. And therefore, I think that it's part of this supernatural episode. I think that we have seen actual manifestation and materialization of forces of good and evil in direct combat. And we're on that battleground. We're in the middle of that crossfire right now. And that's why there's a tremendous interest right now among the American people in this phenomenon because they're seeing it. 79% of the American people believe in miracles, according to a Gallup survey last December. Yes, sir. And that's because they are seeing things like this. Some people are seeing UFOs like you did. Some people are going to Medjugorje like I did. Some people are having experiences with angels. Other people are having dreams or are noticing that weird things happen with Ouija boards.
But Michael, yours was clearly spiritual. Mine was such a gray area. I saw a crack, something that almost could not have been of this earth. And so I'm left wondering, out in the middle of nowhere, what it was. But your experience was kind of spiritual and seemed very clear.
I run into people, including a brother of mine who said it's cracked pretty low in the sky, not too much higher than a house. However, said it was enormous one time years ago. And again, you think, gee, it seems mechanical, doesn't it? But you don't know what this type phenomenon. Again, maybe, well, how do I know what you saw? How do I know? I know that if I was personally, you saw something. But, I couldn't pretend to know and explain exactly what it is you saw, what a lot of people have seen. But I do know that the descriptions of quite a few of these cases weeks of spiritual phenomena.
All right. I know you investigated telekinesis, did you?
I did.
That's enough. Well, is it real? I mean, are people able to move things or affect material things with their mind?
Well, they're certainly able. Yeah, I believe the short answer is yes. And the long answer, and I won't make it that long, is that I've been in laboratories where they did experiments with what they call random event generators and found out that people could divert the randomness of these machines against odds of up to, I think it was 10 billion to 1 against chance. These atomic type machines are machines run on thermal noise. So there's a lot of evidence for that. But once again, you got to be careful because I used to think of it as just a scientific pursuit, another power of the mind, some kind of electrical dynamic coming from the brain.
Yes.
But it often isn't. Often you got to be careful because it can come from the dark side with a certain entity playing games with us. So it's like games that plays with UFOs, Ouija boards, and everything else.
Isn't there a danger, Michael, that coming from the Christian perspective, you would tend to perhaps miss something that is real and has a scientific explanation, and that you would miss it and tend to label it from the dark side?
Yeah, I mean, I think that can happen. I think that anyone from any perspective is, all none of us have a whole picture, and we are narrow in our own ways, and I probably have done that in cases. But prior, I mean, when you're talking about something like the Ouija board, I've been there. I've seen it. I know what happens with that. It's not good.
For example, if extraterrestrials, or what some would think of as extraterrestrials, were actually to ever land, and the door opens up, and the little green or gray guys, or whatever they are, walk out, I'm convinced that enough Christians in this country would be absolutely convinced they were devils, that they'd be filled full of lead and they'd never make it to the bottom of the ramp.
Again, I think I said that I don't discount the possibility of life on the planet. And in fact, it seems to me never absurd that Earth would be the only inhabited planet. But I hasten to add that when you have 8 million people claiming these experiences, that
Something's happening.
Something's happening, but I don't think it's from outer space, because I think that there would be, if it was extraterrestrial and it affected 8 million people, we would have seen a lot more of it. In other words, we would have had a lot more physical evidence.
There are many people predicting that there will be many beams, many craft, and many people talk about 1995, believe it or not, and the years between now and the year 2000 as having, I'm sure you've heard these rumors.
I certainly have.
One more very important thing I want to ask you about. I've had a zillion calls here about events going on in California, Oregon, up the coast, people picking up hitchhikers.
Oh, yeah.
And you know where I'm going with this, of course.
I read about it.
And there's something about the hitchhiker saying the horns are about to blow or whatever.
Gabriel's trumpet.
That's right.
That's why I call it my new book, The Trumpet of Gabriel.
Uh-huh.
I looked at that hitchhiker phenomenon.
And what do you conclude?
I don't know what is going on. You know, it's a classic case, whether it's California or the state of Maine or all across the country. People are claiming that, I interviewed some people who actually picked up the hitchhiker, you know, and claimed to have picked up the hitchhiker who, you know, says, Gabriel, the trumpet is approaching Gabriel's lips, or Gabriel is lifting the trumpet to his lips, or Christ is coming soon, or whatever, and then, as you know, disappears in the backseat of a car.
Right.
And you have to remember that this type of hitchhiker phenomenon has been reported since the 1880s in this country. It wasn't cars back then, it was the horse and carriage, but I can't fathom it. It's, I don't know where it's coming from, but I do know that it's too widespread to be nothing.
When you interview people, how do you judge or try to judge their credibility? I mean, as they tell you a story, did these people seem credible to you? Did they seem kind of off the edge a little bit, religious fanatics, or?
Well, you know, I'm sure you have listeners who consider me a religious fanatic, and in fact, 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, I would have considered myself, looking at myself now, a religious fanatic. So I can understand certainly where they're coming from. I know I would. Certainly there are people in any walk of life who go off the edge, or who believe everything and anything, and it gets to be sometimes.
Well, I'm asking you whether those people were in that category, in your opinion.
Those people with the hitchhikers?
Yes, sir.
Not the ones I interviewed. No, but you know, I can't speak for the others who are claiming this. Often it seems like a rehashed myth. In other words, often you can't get to the base of the rumor of these hitchhikers because they're really just inaccurately reporting a story they heard, you know, third hand from somebody who also heard it third hand. So it's often just a rumor, but there have been some cases that I believe are legitimate.
All right. Michael, hold on. We'll get back to you in just a moment. I'm about to open up the telephone lines. If you would like to ask Michael a question, come now. First-time callers at area code 702-727-1222. 702-727-1222. The Wildcard Direct Dial lines, area code 702-727-1295. 702-727-1295. Toll free, west of the Rockies. It's 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-8255. East of the Rockies, 1-800-825-5033. East of the Rockies, 1-800-825-5033.
Art Bell is taking calls on the wildcard line at 702-727-1295. That's 702-727-1295. First-time callers can reach Art Bell at 702-727-1222. 702-727-1222.
Here again, here's a fax just got in from Mike Brown, and I guess myself. Message: I was asleep at 2 a.m. when your show starts here in Ohio, and in a dream I was sitting next to you and you were reading Mike Brown's book to me. My wife and mother were also in the room. You took a break from your reading. You gave me the book so I could look at it. The book was very old and shaped like a frame, like a picture frame. A small print on aged paper with a hollow center area. In the center area, there was an old doll and loose rose petals. I woke up with a start, and there you were, introducing Michael Brown. And Michael Brown is my guest, and my faxer wants to know if he interprets dreams. And actually, if you know how he got started on this journey, that's probably a pretty good question, and one we will pose with your calls in just a moment. Dreams were a big subject in the O.J. Simpson trial. They came up, in fact, with a witness again the other day, Michael, and your journey, the present forum, was launched with a dream. Do you interpret dreams, or have you attempted to have yours interpreted?
I don't. Mainly confused by them. I don't pretend to have a lot of answers that I wish I did have. I will say that the rose petals, there have been cases like in the Philippines where people have claimed to see the Virgin Mary, and thousands of people claim to have seen rose petals which fell to the ground with images on them of Jesus and Mary and kind of Christian symbols. So I don't know if that's relevant at all, but I don't try to interpret dreams because it's just never worked for me, and it's something that I don't feel comfortable with.
This is the end of side one. Please leave the cassette exactly where it is. Let's launch into the world of telephones here. See what we've got. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Michael Brown. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, man. Thank you.
Where are you, sir?
I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Eugene, Oregon, right?
Yeah. I wondered if you'd ever considered my own belief is that we create our own reality, and my own personal belief is that evil doesn't really exist except in our mind. And like people that you meet, we're all capable of what we would consider evil acts, but we're innately good. There's nothing innately evil about us as people. I believe the same is probably true of other spiritual entities. I've had experiences and out-of-body experiences, and I've had experiences that scared the heck out of me. I was with a positive attitude. I was always able to, overcome and go move beyond.
All right, well, it's a good question. Let's frame it this way. Evil, each one of us with individual evil possibilities within versus real evil. And you are convinced, Michael, there is real evil.
I am, and I think there are too many coincidences. Let's start with the word evil. What does it spell backwards? It spells the word live backwards. And I think that's really a good definition of what evil is. It's to twist things around, turn them backwards. I think there's too much consistency. Whether it's with Charles Manson and all of the symbols associated with him, going back centuries before to witches in Germany, or like I said, centuries before that to pagan times in old Egypt, consistent symbols like the swastika that comes through old Babylon right to the Nazis and the current day skinheads who do a lot of evil deeds. I think that there's just too much consistency to say, it's an artifact of our imagination. It's just a convenient way of explaining negativity, and all we need is a positive frame of mind. I think your caller is right that a positive way of looking at things can transcend a negative experience. We call positive thinking faith. And I think with faith, you can get above that. And I don't think that we should overly dwell on evil, but you do have to expose certain problems in order to find a remedy. And I think that saying that we can reconstruct our own reality, it's true to a certain extent. Through the way you act in life, you create your own reality. But I think you can go a little bit too far with that. There are certain things that exist. They're time-honored. Whether or not they're spoken of in Moses' time or in our own time, there are tremendous similarities in the spiritual realm. And I'm telling you right now that if the caller could have seen some of these eyes investigated, I don't think he'd have any doubt about the existence of an actual metaphysical force.
All right, well, if that's true, then you mentioned Charlie Manson, and I've always thought he, too, when you look at him, that man is evil. He's the embodiment of evil. There's no question about it. But then should there not be a defense in the American justice system that basically says the devil made me do it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'll say this, that a lot of times when the devil's involved, or demons, because it's not just one. I used to think, well, okay, if there's a devil, what do I have to worry about? There's nearly 6 billion people on this planet. What are my chances of being the next one to Blair? I was really, I thought it was just kind of a freakish spirit. But the fact that there's not just one spirit. There are millions of forces out there. And when you tap into those through sin, when you draw them to you because of how you're conducting your life, whether it's drugs, whether it's certain types of sexual activity, whether it's occultism, whatever it is, when you draw these forces into your life, you're going to draw with them some of this negative supernatural phenomena, and then you have to shake it.
Michael, as a matter of interest, how many times or how many cases of possession have there ever been of people who are not believers?
Well, I think that there's a lot of cases of that. Whether they're strict atheists or not, I don't know. I think you could argue that a guy like Hitler was possessed. I think that calling him a politically evil person or a negative person who created his own reality, well, I mean, it's true to a certain extent. But if you look at the Nazis, you will find tremendous occultism in the background of those Nazis. They were practitioners of witchcraft, of astrology, and things of this nature. So there's a running theme here that goes, I think, way beyond something that's just an artifact of our primitive imagination.
All right. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Michael Brown. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where are you, sir?
I'm in Denver.
Denver, all right.
And I used to live up in Jackson, Wyoming. And I ran into a hitchhiker, and I'm not I wouldn't call myself I hate to use the term Bible thumper, but I'm not. But I picked up a gentleman one day, north of Jackson. He was he had very Christ-like features as far as his hair and face. He was wearing a white shirt, tan pants, and sandals, and I gave him a ride about 5 miles to the Jackson Airport. He didn't tell me any gloom and doom or anything. He was very quiet, but as I let him out of the airport, I said, do you have, what you need? You don't have any baggage. And he looked at me, and he had these really piercing blue eyes. And he said, I have everything I need right here. And in his hand, he was holding a Bible. And that was strange.
Hitchhikers. All right, well, I certainly I appreciate the story, sir. There's one for you.
I mean, here, quite frequently, especially when they describe the